I don't picture us in the book when I'm reading it. My Jamie is a stud.
My Jamie looks a lot more like me.
What I think we do really beautifully is show a couple balanced and equally enjoying each other.
He holds quite a lot against Jamie still for having beaten him nearly to death and selling him to the Mohawk.
Scary looking woods, dark, scary looking cabins.
No surprise, we don't cry all the time.
Yeah, that sounds like
some of us do. We're here at Entertainment Weekly, around the table, talking Outlander.
How many of you guys read?
I'm in the middle of 6 right now. I always read the book that we're about to film. I always do that. I think there's so much in those books, and you know, especially when we're in production as well, you kind of want to just keep your mind focused on the season ahead. You know, I don't think that there's a huge benefit to reading on to 7, 8, 9.
Yeah. Often as well, the lines blur and you kind of think, oh, did that happen in the book or in the series? And you don't want to know things that your character doesn't know yet, because that's going to subconsciously colour how you play. Yeah, I think we've diverged from the book in places as well, so sometimes it just isn't really relevant. For Brianna, I feel like she's very different in the screen version than she is on the book.
I think most actors I talk to do feel that way, and writers, quite honestly, about reading ahead, because it colors, as Sophie was saying, it colors kind of how you play that character, if you know where they're going.
For me anyway, and I'm sure you guys the same, when we got the audition for the show, that's sort of when you start reading the book. So I feel like the image that you already have in your head of those people, because I actually auditioned, I don't know if you did for Roger, but I auditioned for Brianna before season 1 had even come out, because I think originally you were going to bring her into the end of season 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think you ended up just sticking with the images of the people that you originally
I think that's probably why, because I obviously read the book and before I even knew I had the job, so...
Jamie's quite handsome in Katrina's
My Jamie is a stud.
My Jamie looks a lot more like me.
My Jamie is also, I think he's taller.
Yeah, what does your Jamie look like?
He's taller.
He's taller and he's got redder hair.
He's got redder hair.
I don't picture us in the book when I'm reading it.
Thanks for that.
We can't say what might befall us. Just as you give me your word, I give you mine. Stand by my hand.
Fiery Cross. The Fiery Cross was a way, I guess, to message and to gather your clan together to go to battle. I think
it's a beacon.
A beacon, yes. And they would have these on vantage points around. And if you wanted to call your clan, obviously the clans were spread out over vast distances. You'd have it on a mountaintop or something, and you'd set light to it.
It's an 18th century pager, really.
Yeah.
The cross was built by someone you know, correct?
The cross in season 5 of Outlander, yes, was built by my uncle. It's, he wove this wicker cross, and we set light to it about 5 times.
Yeah, he did the stag in season 4 as well.
Yeah.
And he did the stag, yeah.
But it is that thing that obviously this is a traditional Scottish ritual before war or whatever, and obviously that image does have very different connotations in today, and I think you know, unfortunately the origins of that were, I mean, it was appropriated, wasn't it, from the Scottish kind of traditional.
Because of that, we were at pains to talk to Gary and his department about making something that did have a Celtic look to it, to kind of take away from things that one might in the United States have a bad connotation of.
Yeah. I think they have erected one at Fraser's Ridge, and sort of by the house, and then there is another one erected in this amazing location that we see in sort of the opening credits, or it's been in one of the clips we've released. But it's on top of this cliff, which was such a stunning location.
Very windy.
Incredibly windy. We almost were blown off it, but hey, that was a day on
Luckily,
Outlander.
they doused the cross in paraffin or petrol and gas, and it stayed alight.
And put you guys right next to it?
And put this right next to it, yeah. Still growing back my eyelashes.
What is the coldest you've been on Outlander?
On Outlander?
I have one personally. I think it was at Bowness, I'd like to say, at a train station, where
my God,
we did
was so
the
bad.
scene where Claire says goodbye to Frank.
Like, at least I had those like warmers that you put in your shoe, even though they like get cold, but all those poor extras. I've never seen a group of more miserable looking people. They were just, everyone was like, you know,
Crazy.
but
It's tough.
What about the rest of you?
That day was bad though. I remember Andre couldn't finish. At one point we were halfway through a take and he was like, I can't hold the camera anymore. He's like, it's too cold.
So to put it into context, it's the scene where Jamie sort of
attacks Brianna.
to show her how she was...
Well, she couldn't have. It really is to show her she couldn't have done anything.
She shows her that she couldn't have done anything. But we shot it, and Sophie, you were amazing in the scene. But we had sideways snow. It wasn't actually going into your ear.
It was quite painful. It was in our
face. And I thought it was very dramatic because the wind was blowing, but the snow came and went in a matter of hours, so we had to reshoot it. And again, you were brilliant.
The performance was better in the first one, was
No, I thought you were fantastic in both, but that was pretty cool. But we've had, I mean, even season 1, that one, the picnic.
Oh, right.
So when you got rained on during a picnic,
yeah.
The drowning. Yeah. I mean, poor Sam, that was your birthday.
That's right.
But we were sat on this supposed blanket having this picnic, and between every take the props guys would have to come in, lift all the plates, pour the water off and put them back down. It was just sopping. I mean, we were soaked.
We went up the mountain to have a beautiful view of the land below, and you couldn't see anything because of the fog.
Couldn't, yeah.
Only Jamie and Claire, when it's pouring down with rain, would be like, let's go have a picnic on a cliff.
It's character building.
Is it usual? What it is between us when I touch you, when you lie with me? Is it always so between a man and a woman?
But you really, I think the interesting thing about Roger is he's a historian actually living history, which most people would think is like the most fabulous thing ever. But I think
it renders him
Roger,
defunct.
I think unfortunately he doesn't have a skill set that fits in this time.
Like you say, he's not very well equipped to be living in the time that he's in. He's out of place, he's out of time. And I think that's very much a part of his journey through season 5, is obviously developing a stronger relationship with Jamie, aka King of Men, developing the skill set that he needs to survive and provide for his family, and also be of worth to the Ridge and to the family there.
He does have a different skill set, and actually in his own way is kind of does things, when he does do them, use his own skills, that he actually is quite successful. It's just not in Jamie's
unconventional. Yes.
Yeah.
He'll improvise, and it's often it often doesn't go very appreciated by Jamie, but
it is interesting, I think, in our modern times, how important vocation has become to your identity. And that's kind of one of the differences, I think Brianna struggles with that this season too, and Roger, it's that idea of, well, what is our purpose here? What's our, outside of just being a husband or a wife or a father or mother, what's my higher purpose? And I think in the 18th century, that wasn't as important to one's sense of self. So it's interesting that we sort of, explore that a bit with both of you guys this season.
It's definitely one of the most frustrating things for Brie, because I think she sort of gets pigeonholed as just, the mother. We kind of forget that, Brianna went to MIT in the 70s. She was probably only one of 2 women studying at that time. So, not only are Claire and Brie modern for the 1700s, they were modern for the 60s, 70s anyway. So they've, been thrown even further afield from their personalities. And yeah, I think there's such a frustration in not being able to stretch those muscles. She's fiercely intelligent, and she's just sort of been whittled down to washing and cleaning and looking after Jemmy and collecting
they
mushrooms.
Don't quite fit the template of a man of his age and a woman of her age.
No, Roger doesn't fit the template of a man. I agree.
Wow.
Ouch.
Spectacular.
I'm kidding.
And they have to kind of reshape themselves to fit in that time, and
but it's,
discover their purpose.
I think Claire is very lucky in that her vocation happens to fit in this time.
Exactly.
And she kind of forces it in. Not everyone appreciates or acknowledges it, but she can doctor anywhere.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, could Roger teach anywhere? Yes. But, the problem is it's like your skill set just doesn't fit in this time. It's not really that useful to Jamie, except for your memory of some historic events.
which he loves
being
to recount to anyone who will listen.
In great detail.
Yeah.
If only he knew more about the regulators.
Exactly.
And,
If only we had Frank for flashbacks. But I also think another thing that we forget is that, I think Jamie still holds some resentment towards Roger for not coming back last season. Immediately, you obviously came back.
He holds quite a lot against Jamie still for having beaten him near to death and selling him to the Mohawk. I don't think
that
Roger,
little thing.
I don't think Roger has forgotten about that.
He did think you were the rapist. I had this with Bree. Bree held a grudge for a whole
season.
season.
Beat him nearly to death and sold him to the Mohawk for something that he didn't do. So I can imagine harbouring resentment against someone for that. But
okay, but I think you can hold resentment against something that happened as opposed to a person.
You're lucky I didn't kill him.
Because I think
he is lucky.
He is.
He is. I think he has a lot of respect, a lot of admiration for Jamie. And Jamie, he has a lot on his plate, and I think he admires the man that he is. I think he trusts him. I think he feels, even in spite of everything that's happened, I feel that Roger feels a certain trust from Jamie, but he obviously has to earn that respect from him. But envious of him, I'm not sure.
I was just going to say, though, I just feel like with Bree in season 4, she kind of held a grudge against Jamie for a long time for what happened. But I think deep down she knows that it was an honest mistake. If it was anyone's fault, it was Lizzie's, and that's actually something Bree says to Roger in the book. But I just think sometimes you take things out on the people you love. When you're scared, I think it was easy to blame Jamie. It was easy to be mad at him until she knew Roger was home safe and sound. And Bree even says to Myrta, I've already forgiven him. It's just that sometimes when you're angry, you place it on the people you love because, I don't know, I guess you can. They're not going anywhere. It's it's a flaw, but it happens.
You and I again, better than most, how fleeting life can be.
I think a lot of typical sex scenes on TV were very much showing the female body, and generally it is very much,
We look at Game of Thrones. Did that very, very well.
And it's generally through the pleasure of the man, the male's experience and all of that. And I think we do, rather than just being solely a female gaze, what I think we do really beautifully is show a couple balanced and equally appreciating and enjoying each other, and we tell it from both perspectives. And I think that that's what's been unique about our show, is that we give equal time to each half of these couples, and it's important, to show female pleasure, to show male pleasure, to show both. But I think, as much as we can all agree that sort of this objectification of women typically by men has not been the greatest thing for women, I think we also have to be careful that we don't become the other and start objectifying men in a way that's not appreciative and respectful. And I think, what we try and do is show passion between couples in a very honest and beautiful way, and that's hopefully respectful to both the actors and the characters. And
I think truth in sex scenes is so important too, and it touches on what Kat was saying in terms of you watch so many sex scenes and it's just sort of very tidy and clean and whatever else, and especially, for Brianna and Roger's first one, Bree's losing her virginity, and I think it's such an important responsibility when you're doing a scene like that to show the younger generation of fans and young women who maybe haven't lost their virginity yet and may or may not be soon, to actually show what that's going to be like. It's not going to be incredible, it's going to be painful.
And everything, candles and roses and billowing chiffon.
So I think there's a responsibility sometimes in storytelling.
It is a blessing you came to me.
Colonel Fraser, the time has come for you to fulfill your oath. Do not disappoint me.
I have to say, I'm never recognized anywhere I go, so I do not have the problem you guys do in terms of being recognized. So. But
it is usually at the worst time, though. It's usually when you've just come back from a run or out of the gym and you look like... I
totally agree. It's always like when you're most hungover or tired, or you've just had a big argument, and then you turn around and someone puts a camera in your face. They can I have a photo.
Or you're eating something. I've had a lot of occasions where you're talking to someone for a really long time and they don't really realise who who you are. And
Do they think you're someone
It happened
else?
actually in an EW party.
Funniest thing was when you tell people what you do or what show it is that you're on or what character you play, and they say, no, you aren't.
I actually had that. I had that the other
like-
day. I was in the supermarket with my friend, and I wasn't feeling great, so I was in my sweatpants, and there was a magazine cover with myself and him on it. And she picked it up, and to the cashier, she was like, "Look at it's her! Look at it's her!" And I was like, "Shut up!" She was like, "It's her," and they were like, and the lady just wouldn't believe her.
I find it even funnier. Usually I'm like Outlander, and they're like, never heard of it.
Yeah.
Been in anything good is a question you'll often get from a Glasgow taxi driver.
Being in anything good.
Done anything good? Well, I mean, I like to think so.
Taste. I think generally speaking, there are a lot of characters that hopefully everybody loves coming back this season, and some that people don't love coming back this season. I think, that will be...
Or love
Don't speak
good for
about
people to
yourself
see.
like that.
I, of course,
People love
instantly was going to be
Brianna.
like, Roger, what?
Yeah, but I think those encounters are really exciting, and I think I'm excited for people to see those. And Jemmy, everyone's going to meet Jemmy.
Yes.
All 10 of them. We have twins playing Jemmy because of children's hours. They can't be on set at the same time. So there was one set of the many that we had, and they were just crying murder all day. I mean, like blue in the face. And then we realised that was the first day that the twins had ever been apart. And we were like, oh, that would have been useful information. So there was no consoling them. It was really sad.
Yeah. It's a really, a film set is a very stressful environment for kids. And, Matthew and Andrew, who are the sort of older version of Jemmy, adorable kids, like so sweet. But, really curious and really, just they want to be playing and they want to be doing stuff, and they will do an incredible first take. And then they'll be like, right, I've done it now, Mum, can we go?
They do. And speaking of bad parenting, we are bad parents because sometimes he'll come in and say, just one take today and then I'm done.
Yeah.
But then you have to kind of bribe him, and I'll be like, if you do another one, Mummy will give you chocolate later. And then his mum's just looking at me and I'm like, sorry.
His catchprise is, I'm doing one more acting
more
and I'm done.
acting and I'm done.
So we're all going to
He's got his little cup of
more
acting
acting than I'm
blueberries as well.
But I do also have a video, which again I'll post when it goes out, of him telling Richard off. He's like, you must be nice to Sophie, stop being mean. And I'm
But
like,
I've been told
thank you,
off
buddy, you're
by
well
Matthew
trained.
and Andrew so many times. You remember the day?
Oh, I felt so
that
bad
was
for
kept
you.
having
There
to
was
say,
a
"I'm
scene
so
where
sorry."
Roger has to shout
Yes.
while the kid is in the scene, and Matthew is like got so upset that Richard shouted, and then he was, don't you shout at me again, you're bad.
It was really
And it was just really sad.
And then I had to do it again.
Yeah.
And it was like I betrayed his trust.
So sweet. We did have one Jemmy who was always perfect, and then as soon as you say action, he'd just cry and cry and cry, and then as soon as you'd yell cut, he'd be like, okay, I'm done with my
also
crying now. And
we
I think
film
it's the
in
tension you feel.
dark, scary-looking woods, dark, scary-looking cabins.
No surprise, we don't cry all the time.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys.
Some of us do.
But it must be so alien, because remember the day they had us come in to play with, it was Andrew and Matthew, wasn't it? And they were great, and they were playing
Because
away.
we were in a
and-
nice, bright room with lots of colourful
Yeah,
toys, and then we go into a scary cabin, and
Yeah.
they're like, I don't
That's
like
what Sam
it.
suggested we go take them to set, and as soon as we stepped over the threshold
Didn't like
onto the set, just instantly broke down in tears, and you look around and you think,
Yeah, it's terrifying.
yeah,
We had a
18th
baby
century set,
That's
dark.
right, we had a baby boot camp, didn't we?
That's right.
And we
a
had to
baby
come in
boot camp.
especially to spend
out.
Somebody
time.
loved that.
Yeah.
Spend
Somebody
time
loved
with
it.
these poor
No
little.
complaining.
Where's Sam? He's still in the nursery.
I do have to say, though, having an amazing chaperone and, their parents are amazing, and that makes such a difference when they're around on set as well. I'm
Yeah,
very
they're
grateful
great.
to them because they were wonderful.
With that-
Wonderful with them.
The goats, the horses, the pig,
The dog.
the dog, the
cat.
cat. It's a full menagerie.
That's why we take 10 months to film.
Yeah.
What kind of world is this?
The only world.
No, it isn't.
What are you most looking forward for people seeing, or what scene is your favorite, or what scene are you most looking forward to?
I think generally it's as an actor, it's the most challenging material you're given, or when you feel like you really get to stretch yourself. And I feel like towards the end of the season, Claire has a very strong storyline as well. I'm excited personally to see it, and I'm excited for everyone else to see it.
For me, just going back there, I think in the trailer you see Jamie's in a red coat. He's on the side of the British, and I think that is a really interesting storyline. He's been pitched up against the regulators, obviously led by his godfather, Murtagh. So I think it puts him in a very sticky situation, and that whole storyline obviously isn't part of the books, but I think it's a really fantastic one that the writers have drawn and fleshed out. And I think I'm excited for the fans to see that one.
Episode 10, there's some big stuff for Brie. I think I'm excited for people to see that. I know we're being really vague, aren't we? All of it. We're excited for people to see all of it.
This is EW's Round the Table series. We're the cast of Outlander. Check us out on Stars, February 16th.